Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Ghoul Dude. And today we're back with another installment into the Lands That Land video series that I have started. And yeah, we've come a long way. A lot of I like this. This is really informative, if you must. But now we're moving on to green, and next, I'm actually probably going to try and do colorless, and then we're going to look into seeing if maybe we can do some multicolored lands. We'll have to see. But green is going to be kind of short because we do have... Green is more of ramp for everything and not just... They're ramping way more than, just about any other color is when it comes to lands. So finding a good monocolored lands is kind of hard, especially for green. But let's go on ahead and get into it. And if you have enjoyed this series, if you enjoyed these videos, leave a like, drop a comment, tell me what your favorite land is in this series. Or if I didn't mention your favorite, drop it down in the comments below. Share it to a friend. You know the things to do. But anyways, let's go on ahead and get to it. Started off with Castle Garenbrig. You don't see a lot of green decks that aren't running just no creatures. So that's why I feel like Castle Garenbrig is always going to be a good pickup for any green deck. It's going to enter tapped unless you control a forest. That's fine. Then it does tap for green, which meets the requirements for a mono green land. But it does have the ability for 2 and 2 green. You can tap it to add 6 green mana. So you're effectively just gaining extra mana because you tap this one and you tap 4 more other lands, unless you like tap a Soul Ring and then, your land that taps for 2 green, and then you essentially just gain all that extra mana. That's pretty dope. But then again, who plays Soul Ring in a green deck, in a mono green deck? But you could still use it to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. You could activate abilities of creatures, so still pretty good. Moving on to our latest inclusion with Modern Horizons 3, Shifting Woodland. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest, and then you can tap it for green. It does have the amazing ability that is only activated by Delirium, and that's only if you have 4 or more card types in the graveyard. You can tap 2 and 2 green, and it becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. That is nuts. That is wild. I love it. It's something completely different and new than what green is used to when it comes to their lands. So this is something I'm here for. I actually had to pick up a copy of this for my Galta deck because dinosaurs are important, and if I just happen to have a great dinosaur in the yard, I mean, it helps. It helps the tribe. And especially for like tribal cards, like if it's an elf, you want to throw an elf on the battlefield temporarily. That's pretty good. All right, moving on to our last one, we do have Boseiju Who Endures. Taps for a green, it's a legendary land. It does have the channel ability, and for 1 and a green. Channel is just so good with these lands, and I feel like the green and the blue ones are the ones that are used the most, unless you're like just throwing them in a deck that has Tainted Pact and you can't afford to not have your colors. But tap it, destroy target artifact, channel it, 1 and a green, discard it, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land. A lot of people forget that you can destroy a non-basic land with this. And I mean, if you're playing like green-black, this fits perfect because it helps, fill in that void that you're filling in with the green with black, because black can't remove enchantments as well. They can't remove artifacts as well. So this just helps keep that ball rolling, especially with the destroyed non-basic land. Black does have some land removal, but it's not, just targeted. It's selective. And yeah, they do get to search for a land card with a basic land type, but I mean, how often is that going to be like detrimental? All right, now moving on to the rest of the more budget and casual cards. We have a reprinted Tranquil Thicket from the uh, Duskmourn and Commander sets. Tranquil Thicket. Enters tapped, cycle it for green. I love the cycling lands, especially in green, because you already have an excess of mana most of the time, and you could just throw it away if you don't need it. Along with the Slippery Karst, recently reprinted in the Dominaria Remastered. Enters tapped, cycles for two generic, and taps for a green. Havenwood Battleground. This is from the Anthologies set. Enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for a green, or you can tap it and sacrifice it for 2 green. When it gets to the color combinations of like black and green, black, green, red, green and red, this is where those landfall strategies are peak. This is where cards like this come into play because, all right, well, I sacked a land to get extra mana. Now I can bring that land back to do more shenanigans. So, especially if you have ways to make your lands enter untapped, it's just really good because then you could just tap, sack. You can tap it, sacrifice it, add 2, tap, play it, tap, sack it, add 2 for 1 land drop. That's 4 mana. It's pretty gross. Along with the Hollow Trees, you can leave it tapped during your untap phase and add a storage counter to it. And whenever you're ready, you can let it untap and tap it to add X amount to your mana pool. Brushwood Grove is another one of our storage lands that you can tap to make sure you have. And finally, we have the Hunter's Maze. There's a lot less lands that I would consider like super good for green that are mono green lands, because green is about more or less having all the lands instead of, just having select lands. The land selection in green is far more reserved for basics than it is anything else, especially if you're in monocolors. But, Hunter Maze does enter the battlefield tapped. It is one of those pretty much a cycling card. You just have to play it first. So, I mean, you're waiting 2 turns to draw a card, but, it's 1 more card than you had before. So, but that is going to be it for today, everybody. I really appreciate everybody that does all those things for the channel. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. And if I did not, like I said earlier, if you have a favorite mono green land, a green land that just taps for green, just like any of the other videos, leave them down in the comments below and, let's have a discussion about it. But that is going to be it, and I'll see you guys next time in the graveyard.